doing it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, we're in it.
This is it?
This is it.
I'm staring at 4 empty seats. What kind of audience is this?
I didn't haul people in for the show.
This is a lot of fun.
Jeff just knocked over 3 out of 4 Ninja Turtles.
This is great. I've never been in an Al Qaeda hostage video before.
Jeff was making fun of my setup immediately. He's like, "What does your wife think of all this setup?" I'm like, "Yeah, she lets me do it."
She must love coming home to an electrical fire.
You're like, she's like, you said that if you were with her, then she would have left you a long time ago having this set up. Yeah.
Jeremiah, you might have to get, no wonder you got a haircut, just so you'd have room for all this shit in the house.
I know, right?
You might have.
I need extra room for my peripheral. I've literally been able to see better since I got a haircut.
I bet.
Yeah.
Imagine if you got a nose job.
That'd be too much space. I wouldn't know what to do with all my vision.
Thanks for giving me the pink microphone to bring out my feminine side.
Of course. I know how into feminism you are. So,
of course.
Yeah. You just did the Netflix historical roast and Cleopatra and Frank. So you
Freddie Mercury,
all the past queens,
great feminist icons.
Yeah. How you doing with that mic over there, buddy?
You know, I didn't know they sold mic stands at 7-Eleven, but this is good. It's great.
You got it?
You have to kill Tony for this mic stand?
No, here, screw the bottom.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, tighten the bottom. That way, if you want to lean on it, you can. Here, righty tighty, lefty loosey. That's just a mic clip. You know how mic stands work. Just tighten it.
I know how professional mic stands work.
Hey, these are boom stands.
I don't know how these Legos.
All right, they're Fisher-Price mic stands. and now the 4th Ninja Turtle is down. Dude, it's always fun having a good buddy on the podcast, because at first I feel like the way I start podcasts, the closer of a friend I am with the person, the more awkward it is getting into it, and then it's smooth sailing from that point on.
Hey, I'm easy, bro.
I know you are.
Ask me anything.
I know. Could ask you anything.
Are we gonna do sax talk?
I mean, that's at the end. I know you're really excited about that, but yeah, we saved that for the end.
Great.
You got a story loaded up?
I got more than a story loaded up. I'm ready to burst.
Perfect.
Ready to go deep.
Oh, yeah. You're into yoga.
Frozen yoga. Strawberry.
Froga.
Yoga is good for you, especially a guy like you on long flights and carrying equipment. You know, you need to stretch your back and honor your body before and after important trips and shows.
Yeah, you've been into yoga since I've known you. You've even done you told me you were one of the first people to tell me about hot yoga.
Mm-hmm.
How often do you still do that?
Not often, but I'm about to start going back again.
Yeah.
I took a long time break, and I've been doing regular yoga, here and there at my house. But there's something about going to that hot room and you just recharge, you sweat out all the toxins, take your shoes off, you take your phone off, and you walk out of there half an inch taller with a smile on your face.
Do you ever do like a steam room or a sauna?
Mm-hmm. It's great.
That's what I try to do after the gym.
But, that's after the gym, it's good. But yoga is it's like giving yourself a massage. It's more satisfying than a massage.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
What's the name of that place that we ate at that has that great wrap named after you? It's called the Mighty Jeff Ross.
Oh, that's you're talking about Eva's Health Food on 8th Street in New York City.
Yeah, I love that
The Mighty
place.
Jeff Ross.
The Mighty Jeff Ross. You can go get a custom. What is it? A wrap? What is it?
No, it's
or it's a bowl.
It's chicken and rice and guacamole and non-fat mozzarella cheese all mixed together. It's really good.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had it a bunch with Cousin Ed.
Tell him the Mighty Jeff Ross sent you.
Yeah.
Eva's.
Yeah. Every time I've gone to New York, like almost every single time I've crashed at your place in your side room. And you've got this great thing that I really love that he has on his wall. There's Sharpies along the wall where all the comics who have stayed in that room sign the wall afterwards. And there's a lot of talent that has come and crashed like along the way. It's pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
Have you gone in there recently and just kind of like ever looked like, oh wow, there's a bunch of people who I've hosted here?
I love that. I love guests. A lot of people don't love house guests. I love when people stay with me, and it's like fun.
Yeah.
I have some funny memories of you waking up like half naked, looking at me like, what? All jet lagged.
Yeah.
I'm like, ready to go. New York time. Let's go.
Let's go. Come on.
You young kids, you can't keep up with me.
It's pretty impressive. Your schedule on the East Coast, you live the rock star life. Like I have to gear up for it whenever, because like the cellar goes for so late, and then there's always like these after parties in New York. Did you have to like kind of get used to that? Because you're pretty bi-coastal. You're one of my few friends that truly lives a bi-coastal life. So when I go out there, I have to like kind of psych myself up like, okay, Jeremiah, you're not going to be sleeping too much. You're going to be riffing a lot in parking lots. You're going to be going to after parties.
Yeah, no, New York is all night, and I was always like that. I love that. And I like late at night, you kind of have the city to yourself. The comedians can take over. Me and Dave Chappelle used to drive my Jeep down the Fulton Fish Market back when it was in Manhattan, and it was lit up like daytime. And we'd watch everybody working all night, providing fish for the entire city, probably the tri-state area. But it was daytime for us. It was our prime time. So 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning. I love having the city to myself.
That's
Walking
cool.
through Times Square in the middle of the night. It's awesome.
Yeah.
One time it was like a hurricane or a tornado, a snowstorm. I'll just walk through the city. I love it.
It's great. Some of my favorite memories in New York have been when we've been doing roast battle out there, or just I happen to be visiting. But like, it's pretty fun to be in another city with a group of friends. Like whenever me, Jamar, and Willie are out there with you, I just feel like we just are like owning the city, just walking through in the middle of the night, going through the parks, and just kind of being as loud as we want, and nobody really cares because there's so many crazy people around.
It's the best. We're going to do that this weekend in San Francisco.
Yeah, I'm looking
forward
to it.
We're going to take over San Fran.
San Fran takeover.
Clusterfest Friday night.
Yeah.
Will this post in time for people to know that?
No, it will have already happened.
Oh,
because the episode's already out for this week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we had a great time.
We had it. We killed it. It was so great.
Jeremiah, you were hilarious.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. The first time we actually met was through a roast battle. We'd met multiple times through like Tony or Benji or different people and different friends at the Comedy Store. But that's kind of how we became close friends, was working together on that show, because we were doing our thing every week, and then you started coming in and you kind of like set like kind of rules and stuff. You kind of help flush certain things out to make it a little bit more organized and build it up to become a show. And then, and then it happened.
I had to reel it in.
You had to reel it in. It was pretty, I mean, it's a controlled chaos, but before it was like
pure chaos.
Just pure chaos.
Well, the rules of roast battle: original material only, no physical contact, and every battle ends with a hug. Those 3 commandments right there kept people from doing shitty stolen jokes or yo mama. People were still touching each other and poking at each other.
And which, as you know, somebody who roasts a lot of people, if you're doing this like while you're insulting somebody, those are like fighting words. That's what it becomes. Like whenever you're like, and another thing, people are like, what are you doing to me?
Right. Yeah. I can take the insults. Just stay away from me. Don't touch me.
Yeah.
Unless you're putting your arm around me. And that was it, man. Roast Battle gave me so many great friends, and you're at the top of the list. So I owe a lot to Roast Battle and that whole scene. I love doing it.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, we're going to be up in Montreal doing a tournament, and we do it every night, every Tuesday night here in Hollywood at the Belly Room.
Yeah.
And it's a worldwide movement.
It is. I mean, now it's in multiple different countries now, and it's kind of crazy.
It's crazy.
What was very surreal for me was when Julie Seabaugh wrote that book, and I read it, and then I was reading it like, just like any other book, where it's like kind of documenting and like putting down on history kind of what happened. And it's like, this is us. This is me and my friends. This is so weird.
It's beautiful, man. You're part of it. You're part of something. What does she call it? The fourth pillar of comedy after stand-up, improv, and sketch.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Did it, bud.
It's good times. And now, dude, on to a historical roast. That was pretty amazing experience.
Thank you for being such a big part of it.
Yeah. It was a great time. I mean,
Do your fans know that you're in the band and you do sketches on the show and we're in the writer's room and you're a big part of the...
I don't think I've really talked about it too much. I kind of wanted to wait until I had you on because like we were thinking about doing this episode a while ago and you said, why don't we wait till after Historical Roast comes out? And I was like, yeah. And then we can actually talk about kind of some of the stuff that happened.
Yeah. And push the views.
Yeah.
You know, because this is our launch with Netflix. You know, stuff doesn't happen all at once. Once it comes out, that first month where we're at right now is crucial.
Yeah, very important for the numbers. And
yeah, you want people to know it so that it keeps going. And we put a lot of comics and actors and musicians and roast battle fam to work on this show.
Yeah, there's a lot of love that went into this series.
And I obviously didn't want it to look like roast battle at all. So shout out to the production design people and the director, Joel Gallen and Michael Ratner, who went to great lengths to make sure it's a nod to roast battle, but it's different.
Yeah. Oh, it's so different. Even though like what's cool behind the scene wise, you walk into that writer's room and you're like, whoa, there's some heavy talent in here. There's a lot of people who are really good at writing roast jokes.
Right. And then you add in the idea of history and the roast jokes become charged. You know, now they're not just about some celebrity. They're about slavery or the Holocaust or women's empowerment or coming out. Like they're rich. The jokes are really pointed.
Yeah, that's what was kind of cool for me to, because I would pitch some jokes here and there in the writer's room and stuff like that and try to come up with some ideas. And what was kind of cool to see about, because, you know, obviously some of these historical topics are pretty touchy.
Right.
And people kind of steer away from them. But you kind of leaned right into it and you're like, no, we're going to go there.
Yeah.
And it was kind of cool to see, like, you know, there's stuff, obviously there's Holocaust jokes made, there's slavery jokes made.
Well, in case people don't know, we roast historical figures.
Right.
You know, sort of in a classic roast style.
But also you end up learning quite a bit about each person.
Right.
So there was the roast of Anne Frank. There's a roast.
What'd you learn about Anne Frank?
It was more just, I mean, I think I learned more about, because I've never read The Diary of Anne Frank. So for somebody like me who's coming at it completely ignorant of that, like it's like I learned, I didn't know how old she was even. I didn't, you know what I mean? Like,
so it's just, it creates a curiosity.
It creates a curiosity where you're like, oh, okay, well, let me look into this myself a little bit more, even after
The goal is not to educate you about these issues or Anne Frank or Abe Lincoln or slavery or whatever. The goal was to create curiosity where you might go Google it or talk about it at a party and learn something else.
Yeah.
And, you know, she was only 15 when all this happened. People don't realize it. And did you know who she was?
Yeah. Yeah.
See, some people get her confused with Helen Keller.
Bert Kreischer has an amazing bit about how he always confused them and he went... You gotta see him do this bit. It's so fun. He created it at a stand-up on the spot. Like somebody yelled it out. He goes, "Oh, I always thought Anne Frank was Helen Keller," and he just launches into the story about how he went with his fraternity brothers. Like, oh, like it's. I don't want to mess it up, but it's so fun.
Yeah. So I wanted to just sort of, you know, it's giving voice to the voiceless, which I always love with the roast shows I do, and highlighting issues I care about that people wouldn't necessarily be thinking about when they watch a comedy show.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun.
It was a lot of fun. So one of the things that I haven't really talked about, so Avery Pearson and I did not only the band and the music for the show, but we did the crowd warm up every night. And it's some of my favorite memories yet in comedy, and honestly, it's some of the hardest. It's one of the hardest shows I've ever had to do.
Why?
So it was mainly the first one, and it was all the staging, and it was you learn as you go. We fixed it the second night on, but the way it was set up, the audience is facing this way, straight towards the stage. And meanwhile, Avery and I are wired in. We don't have wireless mics the first night. So we're literally on the side where people are having to turn their heads to even look at us. So we are almost like elevator music.
Right.
It's just like kind of like background noise that's going on. But we're trying to corral people and get people excited. And we were out there the first night because everything wasn't set as far as schedules. So they're like, oh, we'll definitely start at 8. We didn't start at 8. So we ended up doing 45 minutes of crowd warm up, and it was one of the hardest shows I've ever had to do.
What would you sing or tell?
We were singing, we were telling jokes, we were grabbing people, interacting with them, trying to get any energy going to keep the ball up in the air. So we are like, it's so funny. The first night, all the Netflix execs are there, and Avery and I are bombing, like so bad. So when we started commenting on how hard the situation, how hard the room was, and how hard we were bombing, we started killing with the Netflix execs and the whole crowd, because they're like, yeah, these guys actually are kind of in a hard, tough spot. They're off to the side where we can't, it's hard for us to even look at them. So when we acknowledged what was going on, and that's all like kind of Comedy Store training, is just being present and in the moment and finding a way to connect with the audience. So that was one of my favorite memories on the show. Also, the Abe Lincoln episode.
You have to remember, the audience is also dressed up.
They're dressed in period piece
they're
clothing.
part of the show, so they're even harder to sort of wrangle.
Yeah, because they're also feeling like, well, I'm part of this. I'm not just some audience member.
Right.
Like, I have a stake in this. Like, I'm an actor. Like, and there was a lot of actors who came out to support that came out to the show. So yeah, it was so it's not only difficult for that because everybody's dressed in the same era, so it's actually makes it harder to kind of riff off the crowd when everybody's dressed in a similar way.
Right.
So it's like, even, you know, when I roast people a little bit, like with crowd work and stuff. You could only do that to a point because people are kind of looking at you like, yeah, man, we're all dressed up for the same reason.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay, this is...
It's like when I try to do a speed roast when I'm doing a show for the military out overseas in the war zone. They're all wearing the same outfit.
Same haircut.
Same haircut, same outfit, same story. It's tricky.
Yeah. Do you have any tools like in your back pocket that you're like, okay, well, maybe I can do this?
You got to go to the job. You got to go, what's your job here and where you're from? You got to go to the stuff that...
And they're ranking and stuff like that.
Which is always a little harder, but they all know each other. So that part, the inside stuff, if you can dig it out of them, is amplified. People will love that. So but you can't go for the obvious, cosmetic, their appearance, the optics of it, the way a roast. You love making fun of some guy's big ears or...
Sure.
You can go there, but the outfit is always my go-to, and there's no outfit.
Do you ever do a military roast, and then somebody's like, you hit them with a zinger, and then they're like, oh, hell no.
Yo, man, that's not cool what you just did to me, Jeff Ross. Why you roasting me like this, dog?
Volunteers only. I won't roast you unless you're a volunteer. Sir, you came up on stage.
I know I came up here on stage, but damn, Jeff, you got me bad.
Well, you shouldn't have worn sandals that don't fit.
Well, hey, man, I just wanted to wear my flip-flops with my fatigues. Is that a problem? Why you roasting me? Man, yeah, I do have athlete's foot. Is that an issue with you? Come on, man. Why you give me so bad?
I take it back. I'm sorry. I didn't know you were so sensitive.
Oh, man, you a pussy, man. You taking it back? What you doing?
That's why your toes are going in two different directions.
Oh, man, he got me again, man. Just whenever I think the tiger is going to go back to the cage, he pounces back on me like a Siegfried and Roy concert. What's going on, man? All right, that's wild, dude.
What is that machine there? That's cool.
You have this at your disposal. So there's different filters and stuff on here. So here, play around with it a little bit. This is what's fun about this show. Obviously, it's part interview, but it's part just hang out and riff, and it's just a playground in here. So like these are Jeff Ross is calling into the show.
Hey Jeremiah, I'm really sorry. I'm gonna be late.
Hey, you were late actually. Yeah. What's the holdup?
I had like 3 better things to do.
Really? Okay.
I had to take the garbage out.
Okay. Yeah. Well, okay. Now I'm really curious about the other two because the top one is a priority, of course.
My dog was feeling really emotional. I needed to just pet her for like an hour.
Your dog was just not feeling it. So was it a look that it was given to you, or what?
No, I promised her I'd do her podcast first.
So your dog's podcast is ahead of mine. Okay, that's cool. That's good to know.
And then I had some a hangnail that I just needed to get taken care of.
Okay. Well, when should I expect you here at the show?
I'll be there as soon as you finish setting up those 7 microphones, 3 cameras, video monitor, and these stupid toys.
Okay. Well, I'll see you in about 3 hours then.
Are you gonna be dressed like you're in 6th grade?
Only if you come. Only if you come. If you promise to come a little bit late, then yes, I will dress like I'm in 6th grade.
All right. Whatever you do, don't trim your hair.
Okay. Perfect. I actually just got a haircut today.
Is that right?
Yeah.
You did it yourself?
Yeah.
With a knife?
Straight razor right across.
Hold on.
By the way, for
this
you
one?
audio listeners, Jeff is literally dressed like a human giraffe right now. He has no room to comment on how I look like a 6th grader.
It's true. I have a shirt. Hold on. What's this one?
Oh, wait. So these are your quick keys right here. So. Jeff, how'd you get stuck at the bottom of that well?
It's a long story that we'll tell later.
Hey, I love you.
Hi. Wouldn't it be nice if we were funnier? Hi. Tito.
I love letting people just play and just watching them.
Luke Ping Pong. Is he still doing comedy? Luke Ping Pong.
Luke Ping Pong? Yeah, he was still out there. He's a little hacky though. That's a singing. That's like an auto-tune one.
Oh, I like it.
So like, try to sing a little something.
Is this the little girl I carry? Is this the little girl at play? I don't remember growing older.
You're the only person that auto-tune doesn't work on.
Did they? Sunrise, sunset,
sunrise and sunset.
Oh, this one's perfect for me.
We got mother flipping Popeye in the building.
I am what I am, and that's what I am.
Wow, you really fell off the wagon, Popeye. It's like if Popeye stopped eating spinach and started drinking nacho cheese.
Better quit her before I pop you in the eye.
Oh, you got me good with that one, Popeye.
This is really fun, Jeremiah.
Right?
I'm glad I canceled my meeting with Martin Scorsese to be here. No, it was great.
What's the craziest director you've ever worked with? Because you've worked with some pretty cool people over the years.
Craziest director?
Yeah.
I mean, like biggest or like really crazy?
It can be either one. It might be the same one.
I don't know. I don't think about it like that. I have a lot of friends that are big directors. When was the last time you were on a shoot and you're like, oh, this is kind of crazy? I was on Sneaky Pete on Amazon.
Okay.
And I did like 2 episodes in the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
And they brought me back for 3 episodes at the end of the season.
Okay.
And in between, one of the main actors died, Ricky Jay.
In real life?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And all the writers quit. 8 writers or 9 writers quit.
Because he passed away?
No. And then the star of the show, Giovanni Ribisi, had twins. Right, like in the middle of a shoot day. And I was doing a scene with him. And his wife was going into labor. And I had to like do everything in one take and nail it perfectly. And this is an intense drama. So that was a really crazy shoot.
How did you get there?
But yet the show came out great.
How did you get there for the scene whenever they're telling you all this stuff? Like, hey, we don't have time. Like what kind of turned inside of you?
I'm always good under pressure. Used to performing live audiences and live television. I'm not an actor in that way.
But you're able to rise to the occasion kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And I knew my lines. And the scene happened to be where, for the first time, my character was really befriending and giving some compassion to Giovanni's character, who really was in trouble. So Giovanni wasn't in trouble, but he was really nervous and anxious. He's having, twins within hours. His wife is going into labor. So it worked for the scene. I was able to be his pal when he needed a pal, and he was able to work off me and wound up being a really good experience. I haven't actually watched the whole season yet. I'm only halfway through, so I haven't seen those scenes yet, but Sneaky Pete season 3.
So I haven't seen the show. Do you know how to give me a synopsis of the show?
Oh yeah. It's about Sneaky Pete, Giovanni Ribisi, who's a great actor, top shelf actor, and it's a great cast. It's created by Bryan Cranston, among other people.
Oh, cool.
And if you like Breaking Bad, you'll probably like this show. It's pretty dark, but it also has little tinges of comic relief here and there. It's about con men. Giovanni Ribisi plays his own self, plus Pete as a guy he meets in jail, and then adopts his persona. He steals his friend Pete's from his cellmate's identity.
Okay.
Comes out of jail and then becomes this guy Pete, so that he can run cons. He's a con man.
So eventually Pete becomes sneaky.
Yes.
Okay.
And I play one of the marks that they take advantage of.
What's a mark?
Like a guy that they scam.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
That's cool as hell, Jeff Ross.
It's a great part.
Yeah. That sounds like a lot of fun. Hey, can I tell you one of my favorite memories from being in between in the crowd for a historical roast?
Of course.
All right. There was this moment where Bob Saget and John Stamos were on stage together, right? And I look over at Avery Pearson, and it's time for us to play some music because they cut, and we're trying to keep the energy up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Avery starts to play. I know right away what it is. The first 3 notes of the Full House theme song. And I look at Avery, and he looks back at me, and I'm like, "Are we doing this right now?" And he's like, "Oh, hell yeah." And I'm like, and he goes, and then I'm like, "Are we?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I don't know if we," and I'm like, "Yeah." And then we did it.
And then we ended up singing the Full House theme.
I don't remember this.
To John Stamos and Bob Saget.
Wow.
And the audience went nuts because obviously they're all fans of their work.
Right.
And I told, after we ended it, I looked at John Stamos and I go, "Thanks for letting me do that, man. That's like a dream come true. I've always wanted to sing that song to you." And Bob Saget looks over me and goes, "What am I, chopped liver?"
Why did you say it to Stamos?
Because he was giving me more eye contact and whatever.
Right.
And Bob was there too, obviously. But he's like, "Come on, I'm here too."
Well, that's what Bob does. He'll hang back just so he can pretend to be insulted.
Yeah.
He's the best.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great. And you were great on historical roast. You also played Delilah.
Delilah, Freddie Mercury's cat.
Made famous in Bohemian Rhapsody. We wanted to humanize Freddie, beyond all the obvious things that with his career, and learn a little bit about his personal habits and his personal life back when he wasn't on tour. And he used to call his cat Delilah from the road, and he loved his cat. So I love Jeremiah, so I asked Jeremiah if he would be Delilah, and you killed it.
That was a pretty funny phone call. I think, Jeff, you from the past is actually calling in to offer me
you got a second? Sorry, I'm at work. I just have a second. I want to ask you something real quick. Are you around on the 23rd?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. What's going on, Jeff?
We have a part on the Netflix show. It's a historical figure.
Oh, great. Okay. Yeah. What's up?
It's a really important figure in Freddie Mercury's career.
Freddie Mercury. Okay, great. A big fan of Queen. I love it. Yeah.
There's no lines.
Uh,
There's lots of sounds and licking. There's no lines.
sounds and licking. Okay. What is it?
You're playing his cat, Delilah. You don't have to answer me now. You want me to call your agent?
No. Jeff.
Hopefully the show will have 9 lives.
Jeff. Whatever.
Jeremiah, don't be a pussy. Just say yes.
Jeff. Honestly, whatever you need, buddy. I love you. Whatever's best for the show, I'm here for you.
That means so much, buddy.
Yeah.
I'll send you the script. It's 1 line long. It smells like piss.
Perfect.
Call me. I'll see you at Roast Battle.
All right, I'll see you then. All right, see you then. Some of that is how it went down.
Of course.
For sure. Yeah.
Of course. I had to do that all day. I had to call all my friends and offer them crazy roles.
I know, right?
Nikki Glazer talks about how I called her up and I offered her the role of Princess Diana
Oh, really?
because I just thought, she would kind of upend Princess Diana, who was so like a saint, and Nikki could come up there and roast and talk shit and be a funny twist on Princess Diana. And then we decided that through the research, we saw that Kurt Cobain had mentioned Freddie Mercury in his suicide note. And I was like, oh man, Kurt Cobain, that'd be a cool character to get there. And then I heard Nikki Glazer talking about depression, I think, on the Howard Stern show and how she deals with depression. And I was like, oh, that's a theme in Kurt Cobain's speech. And I told our casting director, just send an offer to Nikki as Kurt Cobain and don't tell her I switched it from Princess Diana. So she, of course, got the offer, thought it was wrong. Her agent said, no, they're very clear it's Kurt Cobain. And Nikki started laughing and said, okay. And she said she really got empowered by being a man. She really liked being a man.
Yeah, I saw some of her interviews, like on Conan and stuff. She said that she enjoyed not having to put on like makeup or anything like that.
Right. It's a pretty fun show. And Fortune Feimster wound up playing a really delicious Princess Diana.
She's hilarious.
So funny.
She was killing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Seth Green plays David Bowie in your episode, and a lot of really talented people on Historical Roast. And our pal Avery, who wrote the theme song and wrote a lot of the, what we would do is the writers and we would write a roast, and then we would hand it over to Avery, who would then turn the roast jokes into music, into a song. So you'll see Freddie Mercury's rebuttal is a musical rebuttal. And, he wrote great songs for Bridget Everett, who plays the goddess Isis, the god of femininity, on the Cleopatra episode. And she kills it.
Another highlight for me, Avery wrote a song with some of the other writers for Josh Homme, who played Elvis from Queens of the Stone Age. And I got to play guitar for Josh.
Sounded great.
On that episode.
Sounded great.
And that was like such a huge highlight for me. I'm like, this is crazy. And we happened to like...
I'm the king.
I'm the king. I'm the king. Yeah. It's fun.
It's a great show. I hope people love it as much as we loved making it.
So you've seen me, Jamar, and Willie do some pretty insane things with the wave over the years. Has there ever been one that stuck out that you're like, oh, I think they might have gone too far?
On Roast Battle.
Where the wave...
Well, you can never go too far at Roast Battle, but I'm a control freak. I like knowing what's going on ahead of time.
Yeah.
Because I always have some other agenda,
Sure, you're
running a show.
Jeff is like, well, you'll know about him after working with him. Anybody like with the way your mind works, it's like a big chessboard, I feel like, and you're always looking 3 or 4 moves ahead.
Right.
And like, if this happens, I'm going to counter with this. And if that happens, like, I don't know. That's how I kind of see how you look at things like that.
Interesting.
But yeah, continue. So,
when you guys would rehearse without me, or I would see it, as it was happening, and I'd go, is this the one that gets us canceled? Is this the one that gets us sued? Is this, because Roast Battles, it's sometimes it's physically dangerous. Jeremiah will leap on and off his other castmates.
Yeah.
And you guys will have blindfolds on and foam and water in your faces, and you're half naked, you got no shoes on, you're tripping over wires, and these fat old camera guys don't know what the fuck's happening. So there's a certain part of me as the son of a caterer who goes like, I'm liable for this. Right? Like Jeremiah, like, I've seen you fall really hard at roast battle, and we've had injuries at roast battle.
There's been a handful.
So, there's comedy, but before we even get to the comedy, I'm like, is this safe and is this legal? Because, you shave your pubes one time without running it by anybody. And I'm not someone who tells somebody what to do with their body, but if you're going to do it in front of 7 cameras and a few hundred people on a premiere live show, as the executive producer, I would like to know about it ahead of time. So shaving your pubes was probably up there.
What was your response when that happened right away? What were you laughing, or were you worried right away whenever that was happening?
If I'm caught off guard, it's very hard for me to laugh.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So what's going through your head?
I'm playing chess, going, what's my next move? What do I say? Is there a disclaimer I can say that will help their joke not get cut? Is there something I can do to and their crazy moment?
Yeah.
So I stay in it. I stay in it as a comedian, and then the producer in me tries to clean it up afterwards.
What was that night? What do you remember? Any of the talks that were going on about that? Like, backstage?
Hey Jeff, did you know Jeremiah was going to shave his pubes? And I said, you know what? I figured he'd shaved them years ago. What do you mean? And I'm not a hairy person, so I can relate.
Right.
But I just remember there were a lot of conversations, and there still are always, about the wave, and sometimes they're controversial. Do they help the battlers? Do they hurt the battlers? Is it a good experience for the audience at home the way it is for the people in the room? Is the wave distracting? Are they going to do something so provocative that I can't use it? I've seen the Willie drop babies from the balcony, dolls, but in the moment, you don't know it's a doll, so it's a lot happening.
Yeah, we did a Michael Jackson bit where Willie was dressed as Michael Jackson, and he had blanket and just dropped the baby.
Yeah. So if you don't know what's coming, it's a lot to look at.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, it keeps it rich for me. It keeps it on its toes. I love the way.
What's funny is, like, we obviously are pretty split online as far as, like, the feedback we get. Dude, I go... And almost every city that I go to in America, whether it's with my stand-up or with podcasting through Kill Tony or the Comedy Jam, every city, anytime I meet people in person, they're like, I love the wave.
See?
But it's so funny, like the trolls online, like say otherwise. But like anytime I meet people in person, they're like, it's one of my favorite parts of the show.
Well, I look at a lot of research. Comedy Central shares all kinds of stuff with me. And you have to remember, it's a little bit like wrestling. You'll see a ton of negative stuff, but those people that are taking the time to write something negative are the biggest fans.
Yeah.
So they're shit talking the way you do at roast battle or in wrestling. They're such big fans of the rest of the show that they need something to roast.
Sure.
So they go online. I mean, I get it all the time. Like people will,
Is it ever hard to look at your Instagram or something because you're known as the Roastmaster?
You're fat, you're ugly, you're blah, 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 you have no talent. It's like, yeah, I mean, I'm constantly being roasted, but since I consider roasts a form of affection and love, I'm okay with it. And occasionally a sharp joke will jump out and make me laugh. But for the most of the time, it's, yeah, I mean.
Has anyone ever gotten you like in person or online where you're like, ooh, that one, I'm not. No,
I'd be a hypocrite. Nah,
that's a good mentality to have. No. Let it roll off.
And if somebody's not trying to be funny but actually trying to be mean, I don't block them. I let them drift off to sea as if I never saw it. I would never want anyone to know
That they affected.
that they even got seen. Sometimes I'll look and go, oh, they have 3 followers and all they do is tweet negative shit at people. So I'm not going to give them the satisfaction of knowing that I saw it.
Huh.
I have friends who block people and they engage with these people, and I'm like, I got better things to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I want to get into this next segment. It's called The Kindness Challenge.
Oh. What was the last segment called?
That was just us hanging and talking.
Great.
Oh, hello?
Yeah, I don't want this part to be on the podcast. I'm just giving you a heads up that I really enjoyed the first part of the podcast. I'm going to come back in now.
Okay. Thanks. We might have to keep that in there. All right, so every week on the podcast, I challenge the listeners as well as myself to do something nice for somebody out of the kindness of their heart. It doesn't have to be big. It can be something small. It can be for a stranger, or it can be for somebody that you know, as long as you're contributing something positive to society. It's a way to create a positive momentum out there.
Love it.
And people send in letters and stuff, and I read them on the show. And
let's stay positive.
Oh, the positivity fairy is here with us. Positivity fairy. Now it's been a while since you came on the show. Do you have any updates that you'd like to share with us?
I love you and all your listeners.
Wow, thank you so much. Yeah, the Positivity Fairy really doesn't say anything other than compliments on the show. Do you have anything else to add before you go?
Your haircut sucks.
Wait, Positivity Fairy, you usually are more positive. Like, usually you say that you like it.
Exceptions are positive.
Wait, is that an addendum to your positivity Bible that's going on?
I only roast the ones I love.
Yeah.
Whoa. Are you Positivity Fairy? Not that it's my business, but what gender are you? You went from pretty vocally high to pretty low register.
Yeah, man. Fairies don't have genders, bro.
You just call me bro as a fairy? I would never think that a fairy.
Call me a fairy, motherfucker.
I didn't mean to call you. Can I not call you the F word? What should I call you?
Call me Larry.
Okay, I'll call you Larry instead of fairy. That's fine.
Thank you.
Oh, you're back to having the high register voice again. You must be. Are you fairy fluid?
I'm very fluid, yes. Very fluid.
Yeah, your vocal register.
Larry the fairy.
Larry the fairy. Okay, Larry the fairy. So you prefer me to call you Larry rather than just a blanket statement calling you fairy. I get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't generalize. Don't put me in a box.
I won't put you in a box. My apologies. You know what? That was a Positivity Fairy Larry who just kind of took over the show for a second. I'm gonna read this letter.
Let's spread some positivity.
And that's when Jeff Ross blacked out. So I started to wonder if I read a letter in the voice. I don't know what they sound like or look like. So I was like, oh, what do they sound like? I'll read it in the voice what I think they might sound like. Let's see here. Hey, Jeremiah. I wanted to tell you about something I did to help someone out. It's hard not to think of it as bragging, but I'm just hoping to inspire others to spread a little sunshine out there.
Nice.
I was going to lunch the other day and passed a homeless young man who was sitting on a sidewalk. He asked me if I had any change, and I had none. I took a few steps, stopped, and turned around to ask him if he wanted to join me for a shawarma. Before I even finished my sentence, he was on his feet. I let him order, paid for it, and we ate lunch together. He told me a story of how he got there, what he was hoping to do with his life, and how he was going to get there. I think it did him good to be seen and heard rather than to be dismissed with the gift of a small amount of change. When we finished, we parted ways with a handshake. I hope others can do the same for someone. Oliver Smith.
Beautiful story.
That's a nice story, right, Larry?
I love shawarma stories.
You love shawarma? Is that because you're a fairy, or is that because you just love food?
Food.
Okay.
Food, glorious food.
Yeah, that's something I like when people write in letters, because it kind of like gives other people who listen to this or watch this a chance to kind of be like, oh, I could be maybe contributing something.
Sure.
And putting something out there. Can you think of something recently that you may have done that would qualify as like a kindness challenge?
Whew. I haven't thought about this. I mean, I feel like I try to show kindness over selfishness all the time in my life.
Yeah.
Make donations to charities and I don't really think about it when I'm doing it. It's more like second nature.
It's more of like a second nature at this point. That's great.
And I don't want to toot my own horn either, but I try to be a kind person.
Right.
I kind of have to be. If you're going to be the roast guy, you're stuck in people thinking you're mean.
Well,
so for any of it to play,
some people lean into it though, like Jeselnik.
Right.
He leans into it where he's like, no, I'm a dick. Like I'm like, you know?
Right. That wouldn't work for me, I don't think.
I don't think it would either.
Yeah.
Cause like the way you are off stage, you're such a nice, fun guy. It'd be hard to be like,
hey, asshole. Right.
Yeah. It just is like,
no, I really do turn it off. Like I really aren't roasty all the time.
Is it hard sometimes when you meet strangers when they're kind of like, come on, give it to me? Does that get old?
It doesn't get old. I mean, I consider it a compliment and it's a credit to my reputation, but people, I mean, I'm pretty good at diffusing it. And sometimes it's kind of nice because I can just be mean to get rid of them.
Nice icebreaker.
Yeah.
Or removal service.
Yeah. You know, hey, roast me. My brother, he's in the bathroom. When he comes out, roast me. Just got out of jail. I get that a lot. You know, just at the airport or the mall.
Springing them on people.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah. You got to be careful because not everybody can take a joke. They got to volunteer.
That is very true. Let's get into this next segment, fanning out.
Fanning out.
You know you be fanning out. You know you be fanning out right now.
Okay, let's do it. Fanning out.
Fanning out. So, let's try this one. Okay, at Carl_man. Where's the first room you performed in, and what's your favorite current room?
The first room I ever performed in?
Yeah.
That's a stand-up.
Mm-hmm.
Ye Old Triple Inn.
Ye Old Triple Inn.
54th Street in New York City. No longer there. Open mic, March 31st, 1989. But I didn't get on until after midnight. So April Fool's Day, 1989. I followed a bongo player.
You followed a bongo player?
Yeah, it was an open mic, like a true open mic where you had all sorts of performers.
All right, that's my time. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, I hope you like the bongo playing. And there is more comedian coming up after me.
Please welcome Jeff Schultz. How you doing, folks? Give it up for the bongo player.
Hey, it's me, bongo player.
Boom, boom. Hey, folks, thanks for coming. My name's Jeff Schultz. That's an old Hebrew word. It means, hey, you ought to change that. That's what it was like.
Hey, let me play more bongos. Well, did it go well or was it rough the first time?
The first one was great.
That's how mine was.
The first one was 30 were terrible.
Yep, that's pretty much. Mine were like.
There's a lot of luck involved in those open mics. If the first one went bad, I might not have gone back.
Yeah.
It wasn't my dream or anything. I didn't need it, so I was doing it for fun, for social life, to meet women, to have something to do.
Do you have any buddies who went with you? Like, I'm going to go up too.
Yeah, well, my buddy Mark Chapin talked me into trying it at all. and my friend Mark Hinkis and Marcy Cohn, my high school friends came with me. I didn't even invite them. They just sort of snuck in because they knew I'd be nervous.
So how old were you? You said high school
23.
friends. 23. Wow.
Yeah, this was like a year or two after college.
Okay. So were you being kind of like the funny guy? I mean, was that you? Were you roasty? It was just something that you wanted to do later on.
Well, I didn't even want to do it. My friend Mark thought I could do it and suggested it as a hobby.
Okay.
He had been doing it.
Now, is this a buddy who took karate with you back in the day?
No, we went to film school at Boston University together.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Karate, film school, baker's son,
Caterer's son.
Excuse me. That's pretty cool. That's a lot. That's a lot of different notches of a human being.
It all adds up to making me the comedian, the person that I am. It's really crazy. A lot of happy accidents.
Well, one of my favorite things when you do my show Stand Up on the Spot is when you actually tell personal stories, because my favorite thing is when comics do things that they usually don't do on stage on that show. Mm-hmm. It lends itself a kind of a comfortability to try things out and experiment. And you've told some great family stories that I me as a fan and knowing you as a long time as a friend and seeing, all the roast specials and stuff that you've put out stand up wise or the Comedy Central roast, it's really cool when I hear you do funny stories about family and stuff, because it's such a different kind of a muscle, because the roasting and stand up is kind of like one genre, and then hearing the family stuff and the personal stuff is another one. So I'm hoping as a fan that you'll eventually do a special that's just about family stuff. Wow. I think that would be amazing.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
People keep mentioning stuff like that to me, because before I did the roasts at all, or even really knew what the roasts were, I did that. I was sort of struggling as a stand-up, and I started telling family stories at alternative comedy rooms about my grandfather mostly. Yeah. My early childhood, my early days in karate and catering, and that was the direction I was kind of going into, a more of a theatrical performer, one-man show type thing. It was very well received at the Aspen Comedy Festival and different arenas like that. And I really thought that was going to be it. I was going to be more in the play, like what Mike Birbiglia is doing so well right now.
Yeah.
On Broadway.
He's so cool to watch.
Yeah. And when I was an open micer, Eric Bogosian had an off-Broadway show, and John Leguizamo and Dennis Leary. And that was kind of a nice trend in comedy. And I really thought, just as I was starting to go into that direction with some success, made a development deal and stuff like that, roasting sort of grabbed me and sort of wouldn't let me go. And the Friars sort of adopted me and asked me to start producing those roasts. And it was like instant fun and exposure, and not nearly as lonely and sad, if you will, of thinking about my history and my past. I didn't have to go inward so much. Instead of being self-deprecating, I became all-deprecating.
Yeah.
Sort of making fun of the world at large. And maybe I'll get back to that someday. But it's been more fun to just be the roast guy or bump mics with Dave Attell or run a writer's room at the historical roast and do more collaborative stuff.
I mean, you know me, I'm all about ensemble stuff. So it's super fun and gratifying when you get to be able to do that.
But yeah, like you said, and thank you, I'll eventually, when it all sort of slows down, I'll do something about me.
Yeah. That'd be cool to see. Your uncle, Herb Larson?
My grandfather,
Your grandfather, saxophone player.
Uh-huh.
You have, there's this, Jeff has at his place, I could see this picture literally hanging anywhere. It's literally a slice of time, like an era. Like he's holding this great sax. He's this big guy, and it's just like this. The way it's shot. I don't know who took that photo, but I love that picture of your grandfather. It's so cool.
And his Latin band.
It's just so cool.
Herb Larson Orchestra. He was a caterer and a band leader.
And you have
he has a couple albums out.
and you have his old sax hanging in New York, right?
Yeah.
In your New York place.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I mounted it up on the wall in New York.
I love it.
It's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Love sax players, man.
Yeah, man. Good people. This is funny. At CatToy78, what exactly do you see in Jeremiah, Jeff?
Oh, what is that? They setting me up to make fun of you?
Maybe. I don't know. They said how did you two meet and start doing all these shows together?
I see a shark fin attached to a funny guy. I love Jeremiah's work ethic. I love his sense of humor. I love that he's collaborative. I like that he listens and can take direction, but yet also take a leadership role and run his own shows. He's a nice guy, and he attracts nice people, and he always makes me look smart, because if I do talk him into doing something on one of my shows, he always makes me look good because he always kills.
I make sure anytime
Always.
you recommend me for anything that it's lights out, swing for the fences, and I take that very seriously. Anytime somebody recommends me for something in the business, like I show up and I'm like, let's go.
Yeah. And vice versa. When you ask me to do stuff on
course
on this, or your stand up on the spot, I try to deliver for you.
We did a couple of years. We showcased stand up on the spot out in Montreal. A couple of years. That was super fun.
Yep.
That was great, man. I love this question. At Greg Flores, who would Jeff want to MC the roast of Jeff Ross?
Whew.
Isn't that a great question? Who would you want as your MC that night?
Wow.
So many.
That's really tricky. I don't know.
All right.
I'd have to MC my own roast.
Interesting.
Has anyone ever done that?
No, I don't think so.
Be pretty fun.
Wouldn't that defeat the purpose a little bit, though?
I also love some of the comedians that I started doing the roast with. You know, Jimmy Kimmel, Sarah Silverman, Adam Carolla.
I wish that they would do every once in a while. You know what I mean?
Well, every once in a while they do. You know, Sarah will show up. She was at the James Franco roast, and Jimmy Kimmel's hosted a whole bunch of them. I think it all comes around.
Yeah.
You know, I do. But those two in particular, we did the Pam Anderson roast together. We did a bash on MTV of Carson Daly. There's probably some YouTube footage of that. Jimmy and I and Sarah, we all roasted Hugh Hefner weeks after 9/11.
Wow.
So, you know, there's a lot of roast history with my friends and I.
Is there any newer up and comers that you could maybe see coming on to do like the some of these new ones?
Of course. I mean, now with Roast Battle and obviously Tony and you know, anytime you see somebody who cares about roasting that much, you want to see them keep doing it. I love when funny new people come in a roast world.
Yeah. Well, you've always been super encouraging of new talent and letting them flourish and stuff.
Sarah Tiana would be great on a roast.
She would be.
Tony Hinchcliffe obviously would be a killer on a roast.
Have you seen his Snoop Dogg roast?
Yeah, it's great.
Oh my goodness, it's incredible. Have you ever made anyone cry via roast? At Ichabod's Bucket?
Well, I don't know if I directly led to it, but there is a famous story of Danny Aiello crying at his Friars Club roast. He was roasted in front of all his friends in the Friars Club in New York and a long time ago, and his new TV show Della Ventura had just come out, and there's bus ads and billboards and tons of promotion, and the roasts are, you have to be there early in the morning, and then about noon you walk out. By 1 o'clock the roast starts. It's a luncheon, and he had not read the reviews to his new show. But our friend Richard Belzer, who's very involved in the roasts at the Friars Club, he broke out the New York Post, the Daily News, the New York Times, started reading the reviews, and Danny Aiello started crying. And I added insult to injury. I said, Danny the acting that you do on Della Ventura is so over the top, they should call it Ace Della Ventura. A lot of jokes like that. So yes, Danny did cry.
Wow. There you go. Sometimes it does.
By
go
the
to
way,
that
shout
place.
out to one of the best actors ever, the great Danny A. Love you.
This one comes from at Mikey Wakefield on Instagram. What's Jeff's number one coolest person that has ever lived? Or maybe your top three. I would shit my pants if you asked him. Well, there you go, Mikey. You owe me a poop in your pantsies.
What's the question?
What's Jeff's number one coolest person that has ever lived? Or maybe top three. Like, so just anybody who you're like, oh, this person qualifies as one of the coolest person.
The two
who
that
ever
come
lived.
to my head are George Washington and Bob Dylan. I don't know why.
How come George Washington?
Well, one thing I learned when we were doing historical roasts, even though we have not done George Washington yet, that he was he rejected a lot of titles for himself as the first president of the United States. He wanted it to be clear that he was not a king. If you'd only known kings,
Right.
it was obvious that he won the war. He would be the king of America.
Yeah, King Washington. Or
He didn't
whatever.
want that.
Yeah.
And they
King
had other
George.
similar names. And he said, I want to be the president. And when they offered him a third term, he rejected it and said, I don't want people to think that I'm a king or a dictator.
Huh.
And I always thought, wow, what a sacrifice. What
Yeah.
a noble gesture.
Being able to go out on top, knowing when your time has run its course.
And then for whatever reason, many reasons, I always loved Bob Dylan. I always thought it was cool how he stays true to who he is. He doesn't care. He's an oddball. He writes poetry. He writes music that moves me, moves a generation, and is still touring, 6 or 7 decades into the business. He's like a comic.
Did you like Donovan at all?
I mean, I like his songs.
Yeah. I feel like there's two camps of people who...
I don't know that much about Donovan.
Mellow Yellow? You like those
Mellow
ones?
Yellow.
Yeah. Well, some people think that Donovan kind of ripped off Bob Dylan's sound, or vice versa.
It's like,
It's like the Monkees and the Beatles kind of thing.
but Bob Dylan is not sitting around worried about Donovan.
That's true. That is true.
I think Paul McCartney woke up today on his 74th birthday and was like, oh, fucking Monkees. If they didn't exist, we would have been big.
Hey, what's going on with the Monkees? Hey, did you hear about they put out a show or something like it's called the Monkees or something like that? I don't know. They said like, hey, we're the Monkees, and I didn't like that they used the word hey. We kind of use that a lot, on our stuff.
Well, Paul,
Who's this?
as your manager, I must let you know that we have filed an injunction against the Monkees for stealing your sound.
Oh, really? Thank you so much. We really needed that. We need more money. That's what we need. We need more money. Let's see here.
This comes from @Silva0072. They want one of us to do a Vin Diesel because I asked for character suggestions on the show as well. I think Vin Diesel might actually be calling in right now. Huge action star. I don't know what he's been up to recently other than the Fast and Furious movies. Hello, Vin Diesel?
Do I have the right number? Is this the right number for Jeremiah Wonder?
It's the right number for Jeremiah Wonder, yeah.
I've been inhaling too much fuel. Sorry.
Vin Diesel, you sound a little bloated.
Yeah, well, life's good. Been on vacation.
Yeah? Have you been kicking it with family?
Undisclosed location, no personal questions.
Oh, okay. Well, you always talk about in the Fast and Furious movies how important family is.
You know what? Fuck The Rock.
Whoa, okay. That's what I've been wanting to hear from you, honestly, because I feel like he took a lot of your roles and you were on the trajectory to maybe become what The Rock is doing, but what happened?
I got more talent in my little finger than that guy has as an entire hand. I'm not good at analogies.
I don't know if your acting is necessarily as good as The Rock's though. He's a pretty good
I'm not
actor.
acting. I'm really furious and fast. I like to drive cars, and nobody acts with sunglasses on better than me.
Okay, this is crazy. Your brother Vin Diesel is actually calling into the show right now.
Vin Diesel?
Finn.
Hi, Dan.
Finn.
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 Just because you got a shark fin for a face doesn't mean...
Hey, is this Jeff or,
Hi, Finn. Hi, Finn.
hello, hey, this is Jeff. It's too important, there's two things that are important. Man, my phone is cutting out right now. You know what's the most important? Racing, family, and barbecues. Those are the three most important things.
Sunglasses and Jim.
Sunglasses, Jim.
Sunglass Jim.
You know all this. I gotta go.
Bye, Finn.
Bye.
Love you. Dad and Mom.
Yeah. My phone was cutting out. I couldn't really understand what he was saying. Something about how he was like, you gotta, family's important. Barbecues. Staying in touch with the loved ones. That's what's important. Vin Diesel. Tattoos. Bald heads. Let's do this one, and then we'll get into sax talk. At Wart Wrangler, what's it like eating lunch with Dave Attell?
He doesn't eat lunch. He eats after the show, late at night. He only eats once a day, and it's always in the middle of the night. And he usually has a cheeseburger. He always orders way more appetizers than anyone could ever need. For some reason, he's obsessed with overorder. He loves to buy everybody food.
He likes sampling stuff.
It's not even that he eats it. He loves everyone else to be a glutton. He gets me really fat on the road. And he always wants to pick up the check. And he always is very generous with his tipping. He's one of the most generous tippers I've ever met.
I've had one late night dinner with you and Beecher and was it with and Tony in San Francisco, and we had so much food on the table that it literally covered. There was no square footage left on this table. It was all appetizers and random meals, and I remember Dave like, yeah, why don't we get another?
Yeah,
you know,
he always over orders.
Yeah,
and he eats late at night. He's a strange man. Lots of coffee and cigarettes fuel him all day long, and then when the shows are finally over, he'll relax and eat.
So he can't eat before the shows?
No, and then he'll eat after the show, and then he stays up till 7 or 8 in the morning.
Oh, wow. See, I can only eat a little bit before shows. I've always, for whatever reason, I can't eat a bunch of food before I go on stage.
I'm the opposite. As a matter of fact, on Saturday at Harrah's in SoCal, I ate during the show. I brought spaghetti out.
You brought spaghetti on stage?
Dave was on a roll, and I really had to pee. There was a huge arena full of people, and I really had to pee because we're in the desert. I was dehydrated. I'd been drinking a lot of water and coffee. I really had to pee. We had another 20 minutes left in the show, and it was distracting me how bad I had to pee. So I just left. I just walked off to go pee, and I was like, I better walk back in with something funny. So I had a leftover plate of spaghetti backstage, so I just came out eating that. And there wasn't much left because Ed had already ate most of it after I went on stage. My cousin Ed was with us, and he so yeah, sometimes I'll, like in Bumping Mics, I ordered mozzarella sticks in the middle of one episode.
That's a fun series.
Yeah, thanks.
That was a lot of fun.
So sometimes I get very low blood sugar. I just love to eat. And if the audience is eating while I'm on stage and I can smell it, it definitely distracts me. I'm like a dog.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess that is a credit to how comfortable you are on stage, or how comfortable you become over the years.
With Dave, if I'm by myself, it's tricky because they're all watching you and you're chewing. But if Dave's talking also and I can chew while he's talking, my chew timing's very good.
I feel like when you were starting out and you had like a cold or something on stage, would the adrenaline kind of push you through where you wouldn't get the sniffles or anything while you're on stage?
Still.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could have anything happening physically. And, you see it with old comedians. They'll in a wheelchair and right up to the minute they're introduced, and then they leap up and they're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, performer adrenaline. I mean, that's the mark of a pro.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's round it out with this final segment of the show, Sax Talk. Oh, Sax Talk. All right, Jeff. So now I'm going to share some sax with you while you share a story of a sexual encounter with me. It can be as innocent or as graphic as you like, and I will fill it in with some saxophone, some sweet, sweet sax while you give me a nice old monologue.
Sounds great.
So whenever you're ready.
So just any sex story?
Any sex story.
Little sax appeal?
Yeah, and I'll give you some sax appeal.
All right. Let me think of a story. Any sex story? Recent? Old?
I don't know. How old was she? It can be as recent or as old. I mean, it can literally go back to teenage years, or it can be something recent that if you're comfortable sharing that. It can be something gross. It can be something sweet. It can be something straight up stanky. Whatever you'd like.
I was just a boy. I was in high school. Springfield, New Jersey, the 80s. The first time I lost my finger bang virginity. She knows who she is, but I won't say her name because she's a teacher. I'd never touched a vagina before. She said, Jeff, come on over. Let's have some fun. And nobody was home, so we went up to her room. I was probably a senior and she was a junior. I liked her a lot, but I hadn't met her parents yet, so we were sneaking up to her room while they were out. And we started making It got hot.
It got heavy. I unbuckled her brassiere. And I started getting turned on.
I said, baby, please, let me touch it. Let me just get down there. And it happened. She let me put my hand down her pants. The promised land. Oh, I couldn't believe it. Touching a woman's vagina. Hallelujah. And I was diddling, figuring it out, listening to her moans and groans for direction and trying to just feel out what was supposed to happen and how this was supposed to work. And then something terrible happened. Her dog started barking. when she panicked because her parents were pulling up, we heard the garage door open. So we had to buckle up real quick. The fun was over. Suddenly I went from the greatest, most euphoric sexual adventure of my young high school life to that moment when suddenly you're meeting your girlfriend's parents for the first time. That's what my dick sounded like. So what did I do? I had to be a gentleman. I had to be the caterer's son. I wanted them to like me. I wanted them to want me to marry their daughter in my father's catering hall. So I combed my hair and I buckled up and I put on a big smile and I went down to the living room and I met her parents for the first time and they put me on the couch next to my girlfriend and we sort of tried to put on our most honest face like nothing, no hanky-panky was happening. And I wanted them to like me so bad. And then the tell happened. I started to panic as their dog started walking towards the couch and started doing what? Furiously licking my fingers. I was like, oh, they're going to know we were fooling around. They can't be stupid. They're going to know the dog is licking my fingers for a reason. But like all people, they too were in denial about what a hot piece of ass their daughter was. Not hot, but horny. She was hot, but we were teenagers. Instead of questioning why the dog was licking my fingers so furiously, her mom just said, "Oh my God, Jeff, the dog loves you." And I said, "Oh, I love the dog. What a cute dog. Good doggy dog." And that was it. I had my junior prom date. Shout out to you, Ellen. Hope you're well.
Sex talk, yeah. That was nice. Well, the girl and the dog liked you a lot.
We're still friends.
Still friends to this day?
Dog died. Pretty sure I know what killed it.
Shortly thereafter.
But yeah, no, we're all still friends.
Nice. That's cool, man.
It was good to reminisce. Thank you for asking me about that.
Of course. Thanks for doing the show, buddy.
Had a great time.
Dude, I've got some of your dates coming up that were sent to us by Cousin Ed.
Oh,
you can see Jeff bumping mics in August. The 23rd and the 24th, bumping mics in Bow, Washington, Skagit Valley Casino.
Really? 2 nights?
Yeah, 2 nights, the 23rd and the 24th. September 25th, Charlotte, North Carolina at the Night Theater. October 4th and October 5th, bumping mics in Huntington, New York at the Paramount. And
those shows are going to be amazing.
All if you haven't seen bumping mics live, you got to do it. It's an incredible show, and it's cool to see, not only because I've seen you guys at the Cellar. That was the first time I saw you guys at the Cellar, and actually you brought up me, Jamar, and Willie once on the Cellar stage to do the wave
during bumping
mics, and it was pretty awesome. It was definitely a night to remember. Some of the comics were not happy that the wave got on the Comedy Cellar stage because we're not past there.
Right.
Which I get, but it was a fun night,
but
nonetheless.
Me and Dave, we make our own rules.
Yeah, you do your own thing. So you got to see it live. That was definitely one of my favorite nights that we had in New York when you're like, oh, what? The Wave is here. Why don't we come up? We did the Wave. We did dumb act outs and stuff after Attell and Jeff were like roasting people.
I just wanted you would come in for one of the festivals, and I wanted you guys to get on stage at the world famous Comedy Cellar. So that's how I did it.
That was pretty cool, man. Yeah. Last couple dates for Jeff. See him October 19th, Bumping Mike's, Prior Lake, Minnesota, Mystic Lake Casino, and then October 20th, Winnipeg Club Regent Event Center. And then the Roastmasters Invitational is going to be at the Montreal Comedy Festival just for laughs. That's in July. And listen to his podcast, Thick Skin with Jeff Ross, wherever podcasts are available. Do you have anything else you want to plug, buddy?
Just thank you again, Jeremiah, for all your hard work on the historical roast.
Of course. Tune into Historical Roast, guys. I love you, buddy. I'm super grateful to be your friend and everything that you've done for me on a personal level and everything you've helped me out with. And you were one of my close comedian buddies who came to my wedding, which is pretty special.
Great wedding.
Because there was definitely some comedians who did not attend that I was trying to get there. You know what's funny is Bobby Lee has been a very good friend and mentor to me over the years, and he didn't come to the wedding, and he goes, you know what made me feel really bad is when the pictures came out and Jeff Ross was there.
Oh.
He goes, because then I knew I should have been there.
Oh, Bobby.
Yep. So take that, Slept King. The Roastmaster came to my wedding.
All right.
Love you, pal.
Love you, bud. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for doing the show.